What is up, guys? Welcome back to Mount Mograph. It's Saturday, and no party's like a Mount Mograph party. That's actually a lie. Probably a Lil Wayne party is pretty close to mine. But anyway, I thought I'd put up another video this weekend because you guys are awesome, and I have a this is literally the best video I think I've put up so far. So I hope you guys like it. It's called Summit 39 Hipster Calligraphy. It's totally awesome. You can use this stuff for a ton of different kind of animations. But in the reference today, we're going to make this awesome effect, and I literally don't think I could fit any more awesome shortcuts and all this other information in this video if I tried. I have so much to cover, and it shouldn't be too long either, so hopefully we can get through this. Let me play it for you, bother you some more with my voice, and then we'll go make it. So as you can see, we have this really nice inky draw on effect. This one is a little sloppy because I did it pretty quick, but for this example, as you can see, we have some really cool movement and splatters and ink and drips and all this other stuff that would literally take a lifetime to make if you were using shape layers in After Effects. So anyway, I think we should go make this. So basically for today, I'm actually going to be using my Bamboo tablet, which was like a $70 tablet, but it's pressure sensitive, so it's nice. You don't have to use it. You can totally follow along with this video if you don't have it. But if you do have it, I recommend breaking out your tablet and making some use of it. I normally just use it for illustrations, but I found out it's incredibly helpful for frame-by-frame animation, which is what we're going to be doing. So this step is not totally necessary. You could do this in Photoshop. However, for me, it works easier in Illustrator. So I'm just going to go create a new document, 1920 by 1080, and first I'm going to make a reference text. Like it makes me look like I'm good at calligraphy and stuff, but I'm kind of like fake good at it. I'm good at tracing stuff, which pretty much everyone is. So I found this awesome font called Lavendaria, which I liked, and so this was my reference text. So just scale that up, and also you can download this font if you'd like to use it. You can actually just use this and skip this step if you want, this like same font. But yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. But yeah, this is an awesome font. It's in the video description if you want it. But yeah, I'm going to use it as a reference. So go to type and go to create outlines just so it's nice and sized, and I can scale this up to whatever I want very easily. And then I'll just put it over here in the middle and lock this layer. So what's cool for me is when I'm working in Illustrator, I found these really awesome brush tool settings. So let's go and create a new brush. I'm just going to actually go into my brushes here and double click this guy. And just change some settings in here and make a brush that works perfectly. Literally the best settings I've ever used for a brush, and I use them all the time. So I'm going to set my angle to 35 so I get this nice little sideways angle like calligraphy would often have, and set my roundness to 75. And since I'm using a tablet, I can set this to pressure. And if you don't have it, you can still like follow along with this segment and just use your width tool over here to scale up your paths. And then I'll change my variation to 25 based on the pressure. That means that my roundness will change depending on how hard I press on my tablet. And then my size, I'll turn up to 12. And I'll change this also to pressure sensitive, and I'll change my variation actually to 12. So that means when I'm not pressing very hard, there's nothing, and when I'm pressing very hard, it's 12. So I'll press OK, and I'll show you how awesome this is. So I'm going to pick up my pen for my tablet and just doodle something real quick. So I'm pressing really hard, and then I'm pressing lighter, and as you can see, I can get these really nice strokes, kind of like inky. So yeah, definitely use that if you haven't made use of your tablet before for this kind of stuff. It works great. So now I'm just going to go ahead and trace this and just kind of to get my own look to it. And that way, if it's like copyrighted, you don't have problems with it for your artwork and all that, and it totally looks different and has a nice like organic feel to it. So that's perfect. I'm gonna just probably keep this one. It's fine for this example. So now that we have this set up, I'm just gonna grab it like this and go over to my object here and go down to go to expand appearance and just click that. Because before we just had a stroke line, and then I'll grab all of that and just unite these objects so it's all one object, and then do Shift X, and that will put it the color on my stroke on the outside So now we have like a coloring line, like we made a children's book here. So I'm just going to save this to my desktop as a hipster motion reference for reference. Save that to my desktop, say, okay, that's great. And now let's go into Photoshop for where most of the cool stuff is going to happen today. Yeah, so I think this is actually my first video that I've even talked about Photoshop. So yeah, I'm pretty happy that it's going to come out good, I hope. So we have a couple things to set up, all of which are going to be helpful in the long run. And if you don't have this set up like this, it's going to be a total pain in your butt. And so I recommend following along for this section. Anyway, what we're going to first do is just drag in our, actually create a new document here, 1920 by 1080, set your resolution instead of to 72, set it up higher to 300, and just say okay. And then I'm going to drag my hipster motion reference into here as a page, say okay, and yeah, we're pretty much there. So I'm going to scale this down just a touch. That's huge. And then I'm going to lock this layer over here. And now we're going to get into some of the cool stuff that's going to be very helpful. So let's first go into our edit up here and go down to keyboard shortcuts. And we're going to change some stuff. So you're probably on shortcuts for application menus. We're going to want to switch this to panels menus. And then go down here and go and select your timeline video, which is what we're going to be working with. And we need to set some shortcuts that, if we don't have, makes your workflow totally slow. So first, let's set a shortcut for our enable onion skins. So I did Control Command S as mine because I like to have one hand on my keyboard and one hand on my mouse or my tablet, depending on what I'm using. And so Control Command S, I remembered that with Control Command skin, basically, for onion skin. And I'll show you what that is if you haven't used Flash before. It's a similar effect. Actually, it's the same effect. Anyway, let's go up to our previous frame. And just because I already had set a like a keyboard shortcut for the onion skins with Control Command S. Right under S is X. So for my previous frame, I set it to Control Command Z to go backwards, and then for my next frame, Control Command X, which is right next to Z, to go forward. So that works for me. You don't have to set them to that. You can set them to something else if you'd like. And now I'm going to go into my timeline frames to actually, no, that's all we have to do. So we just have to set those three little shortcuts and say, okay, so mine are set up, so I'm not going to worry about it. And now what we're going to do is go into our window and grab a timeline. And just, I'm going to dock mine right down here so it's easy to see, and maybe pull this window up a little bit as well. So now what I'm going to do is click this create video timeline, and yeah, we're getting there. So now I'm going to go over into my preferences here and set timeline frame rate. Its default is to 2997, which would suck because that would be 30 times would have to draw for 1 second of animation. So let's set this way down to 12 and say okay. So I said okay, and now I got a shorter purple timeline, which is perfect. And one more thing we're going to have to set up is let's just draw something real quick. So I'll just grab my brush tool and actually go up into my layer and say video layers, new blank video layer, and now I get a new one, and I'm just going to call this calligraphy for my layer. And now when I draw, I can actually do my shortcut Control Command X to go forward a frame, and just continue drawing like this all day long, and do some really awesome animations. And now it's a sad face, and then when I go back in time, this would play for us. Obviously this is like really crappy looking, but you guys get the idea of how those shortcuts can be helpful. So I can just do Control Command X to zoom through these or go backwards. Onion skin is, if I do Control Command S for our onion skin, shows you the previous and next frame. So it like in a 50% opacity, so you can see what your change would be. So if I go to my sad face here, that was the frame before. So now I can make him kind of start to smile and just do it nice and gradual. But yeah, so that's how you can do some animation. And then if I turn off onion skin, Control Command S, and now I play this video, it's going to look like a really crappy animation, which is exactly what we wanted. But that's how you use onion skins, and that's why they're helpful. So anyway, I'm just going to go and set one more thing. And this one was kind of funny because if you look in your keyboard shortcuts, you don't have to, but I'll just explain it. There's nothing for this layer, video layers, duplicate frame. There's no shortcut for it given, and it's also not an option you can select in your keyboard shortcuts, which is annoying. So every time you wanted to duplicate a layer, you'd have to come up here to layer and go and click all this stuff, and basically it would take you 5 times longer to make anything. So I hated that, so I found a little workaround. So basically what we're going to do is create an action. So I'm going to say new, and I'm just going to call this action duplicator. And say record. So I already actually set this action up, but basically you set your action. This is super easy, and go up into your layer up here and just go down to your video layers and say duplicate frame, and your action is recorded, and then you click stop, and then now you're able to double click in here and set a function key for this action. So I set mine just to F1, but I'm not on this one because I already have it set up. So I'm going to delete that. But yeah, mine is right here, and my function key is F1. So what this means is as I go forward in time, I can just press F1 on my keyboard to duplicate this frame exactly. And I'll show you why that's helpful a little bit down the road. So basically, let's just delete this calligraphy layer so I don't have to keep all those horrible smiley faces on there. Go to my layer, go to video layers, and click new blank video layer. Now I'm just going to call this for reals. Because now we're doing it for real. So anyway, let's get this started. I'm just going to zoom in, and I'm going to get my ink coming in from this side. So what I'm first going to do is go and create a little brush. So I have a brush already selected, but I'm going to change some stuff on here because I think it looks junky. So this is once again something you don't have to do if you don't want to. I'm just going to select just this basic brush here and set my size, I don't know, to 25 is fine. Go into my brush settings and turn my shape dynamics on because I have a tablet. So if you don't have one, don't worry about it. This still works fine. This is good. Minimum diameter is 2. This is good. And all this is good. So I have my angle jitter set to 23, so there's a little bit of not perfect line on it. And then my minimum roundness is just based on my pen pressure as well. So that is set to 77. Anyway, so now when I pick up my pen for my tablet, I can just doodle along and do whatever I want and get a nice like stroke size with that. So that is about all we need to do. Go into my history and just go back, and there we are on our 4 reels layer. We're going to get this video going. So let's just select our layer here and get this going, like I just said twice now. So first I'm going to just create a dot because that is easy enough, and then do Control Command X to go forward a frame, Control Command S to turn on our onion skin so we can see where our reference is, and just come down and draw like a little dribble or dot or whatever, and then just do Control Command X and just go forward like this, and just continue drawing these awesome little shapes, whatever this would be. Okay, that looks good. So I'll just do this one more time, and once we're actually on the letter, I will show you how that action is so incredibly helpful. So I'll just keep drawing for a second, and we'll call that good, and then just color it in. And now I'm on the letter, so now what I'm going to do is just press F1, and that's going to duplicate our layer with that action. So now I can just draw along it like this and save myself tons of time. So I'll just make it look like it's drawing continually on, and then press F1 again and draw some more. And I'll show you a pretty good workflow for adding nice splatters and stuff as well. And then we'll finish this off in After Effects with some really nice layer stuff. So anyway, just go forward in time with your F1 to duplicate the layer and go forward and just create, I like to think about it like how water would react. So it would kind of stay with gravity and, you know, like stay closer to the bottom first before the top comes, because it's like based on, I don't know what I'm saying here, but basically just draw along. I'm going to try to do this a little bit quick so you guys can get the idea and go about your day and not be bored anymore with me talking. So anyway, I'll just press F1 and start drawing this in a little bit more. Maybe come down here and just draw something down there. F1, I'll fill in this spot. It doesn't have to be perfect. This whole hipster effect is like all handmade looking. And I like that actually. So I was okay with it not looking perfect. So F1 to duplicate that. Yeah, and I mean, this starts to turn into like a very easy process that turns out really awesome. So I recommend using all these actions and all this goodness and whatnot to get some really cool looking animations. So I'll just do F1 and duplicate that layer, draw this in. I suppose I could actually pause this video right now, except I may or may not remember something while I'm doing this. That often happens that I didn't mention, so I'm not going to, just in case. And if I don't come up with anything, sorry for making you watch me draw this, but you guys can maybe follow along. So I'm just going to draw kind of quick at this point, and keep in mind that water kind of effect. So it'd probably come out over here and stay along the side from where it's coming from and drip down in here. And yeah, just make sure to get everything you want drawn in and then press F1. And then probably some more would come out up here. So F1 again. And at this point, it's probably in a nice ripple down here, and still coming out on top a little bit. And then I'll press F1. And I mean, you can do so much more with this. Like you could do like stop motion animation, like those old stick figure videos you used to see online of those guys fighting, which always was actually pretty cool. Like you can do stuff like that if you want with this Photoshop feature. And yeah, you can do so much other stuff. You can do like actual good drawings if you want. Man, I'm not staying in the lines very well. I was totally bad as a kid at drawing in the lines anyway. So yeah, now we're kind of going to focus up at the top and maybe just come over here and touch it up a little bit. And I spent a little bit longer, obviously, in that first video I showed you, making this look nice and adding more detail to everything. But I just want to give you guys the idea real quick. And I mean, yeah, the more time you spend on this and the more frames you put in it, it's going to look just better and better. So this is like one of those things that the more time you put into your animation and your work, it's really going to show. And it's going to look a lot better than my crappy drawing that I'm doing right now, which is all nasty. And I think my pen or my brush is probably a little bit too fat for this, so it's even harder to stay in the lines. But yeah, it still is looking all right. And then come over here and maybe do a bigger splatter. And then, so it's like that. You guys probably get this idea. But yeah, so just keep drawing in there. And then this is only going to take 2 more seconds, I promise. Actually, probably a little bit longer than 2 seconds, but yeah, we'll be there soon. So that was, I guess, a big splash. And then it's going to come up top over here. And I might not have done this perfectly because I'm talking and probably pressing F1 pretty randomly. But I just hope you guys are at least getting the idea, because I think this is seriously an awesome effect and it's very fun to do. So yeah, that's all good. It's always good to actually do things you enjoy doing. And this was one I actually had a lot of fun with. So I was like, that's why I put it up or uploaded this today, because I was like, man, somebody could have a lot of fun with this. And yeah, so that's why I did it. Oh, and also, I guess I should mention, like, the reason I put up these videos is not like so I make money or something, you know, like I put this all up for free on YouTube. I put it up because I feel like everyone goes to school to get good grades and not learn anything. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to explain, but like for me, you see people more worried about the grades they're going to get than what they get out of school. So like for me going through school, like everyone would be like, oh my God, like I'm so stressed out over my grades. Like you never heard anyone like actually remember stuff from class down the road and all that. So I feel like, especially for motion graphics, the more fun you can have with it when it's actually about the knowledge and the tools and like learning things, the better off you're going to be. So I just think that's kind of nice. To think about stuff like that. Like I would much rather learn something and not even have a grade than go to school and get good grades. So there is my my M here, and now if I play it, we can see it draws on. It doesn't look great. I did it quick, but you guys get the idea. You can make it much more drippy and whatnot. And if I turn off onion skins, so Control Command S to turn off onion skins, I'm gonna actually, if you haven't set this up, go over here and just set your loop playback on. So it'll keep playing in your work area. So now I will just play that through a couple times and see how it's looking. And then I'm gonna hide this motion reference. This hipster motion reference, just so I can really focus on where I want the drips to be. So we have this come here, just like this, and when it hits at first, I'm actually going to want to add some splatters. So I'm just going to, draw a little thing with my pen and turn on onion skin, so Control Command S, and we'll see where it's going next. Control Command X to go forward a frame, otherwise you'd have to click this little button. And I'm just going to come out here and just make this dot have a little bit of life to it. It doesn't even, I mean, it can be totally random, that's fine, and then just have it disappear real quick. And then out over here, I'll start drawing one. And just do another big one, I guess, and then maybe have it splatter and get smaller. And we'll call that good there. All right, so now I need to probably find out what else is going on in my animation. So Control Command Z to go back and forward, as you can see. So I guess here I'll draw some stuff. I mean, you can totally just look at this and spend more time, like zoom out and all that. I just want to give you guys the general workflow. And yeah, just put some random drips in there. I guess I'll put a splatter, and putting these splatters just really sells the effect, like it starts to look way more interesting. And I guess I'll put like a splatter coming out. Yeah, and you could spend more time, like I'm saying. I'm getting so distracted because it's starting to look cool, which sucks kind of, because now it's going to be harder to talk. And that's good. And then I guess when it hits the bottom, so it'd probably like splash out when it hits the bottom. So I'll just do one of these, a little splash. And I'm just adding little dots here just for like water splash. The particles would probably break up as they hit. And I guess I'll add something up here, because why not? I'll actually make it popping across. And that looks all right. And then when it hits the top, I'm actually going to do a nice splash effect. And yeah, just doodle along. We're almost there. Sorry if this video is dragging. I'm trying to go quick, but at the same time, I want you guys to see some cool stuff. And of course, I mean, if you haven't seen something like this and like this video, leave me a like or drop me a comment. That's all I'm asking for, which is pretty easy to do, I hope. But yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I think it's been awesome hearing from you guys and seeing what you guys make with these videos. That's probably my favorite part about putting up these videos, is hearing from you guys. Yeah, not saying I'm like lonely or anything, but you know what I'm saying. So I'll just continue making it. Maybe when it hits this end here, I'll have a little splatter come out. Maybe 2 splatters even. And this one I'll start to make smaller. And there we go, that's good. And then up top is the last thing I have to do. We'll add a splatter coming out here. And there we go. Oh, actually I totally messed that up. So let me go back in my history to where my frame was still there. That's good. So I'll just do where I still have my M in there, so all dark. I'm gonna press F1 on my keyboard to duplicate this layer, just a whole bunch actually. Just so it's going to stay in there. And then as you can see, it's gonna start to look really cool, and then I'll just actually erase this thing like that. And there we go, we have this M. So if I turn off onion skins, so Control Command S, and just press play, we're gonna have this really, do you see how it already looks better with those drips in there? It just looks like way more professional and like we spent more time with it, even though it looked really crappy before. And I really want to just continue this motion Okay, well, I'm not going to worry about this little drip up here. You guys are probably bored. So yeah, so now I think this is already looking pretty dang cool. So now what I'm going to do is just hide the background so it's on an alpha channel. And now we're going to go and set up the video export from Photoshop, because you can actually do that, crazy enough. So I'm going to go into my file and go to export, render video, and let's see, we'll wait for it to come up. Whoa, what's it doing? Export, render video, maybe it has to do that. Okay, that's different. So anyway, we're going to get all these settings. It probably comes up for you as an Adobe Media Encoder, which is for a regular video, but we actually want a Photoshop sequence. So set that to a Photoshop image sequence. Your format is probably defaulted to JPEG. Make this a PNG or PNG file. And then go to your alpha channel and set this to straight unmatted so we don't have a background. And I'm going to select a folder on my desktop here. Actually, I'll create a new folder and just call this awesome. And then say choose my awesome folder. And I'm just going to call this one hipster calligraphy .png. And then make sure it's set for your work area, which is 59 frames for me, and just say render, and it'll probably have to think for a second, but it's going to save all of these images. Every single frame will be its own image into that awesome folder. So I guess while it's doing that, I'll open up After Effects so we can do the rest of this awesome stuff. And we're just about there, guys, so hang in there. I'm trying to go quick as usual. Actually, sometimes I really drag my feet and we go really slow. But for today's video, I'm going to try to go kind of quick because I think this is a fun enough effect. So anyway, let's see if this is done yet. Just about there. Another like 2 frames and we are good. All right, so it's all rendered out of Photoshop. And then we'll just do in After Effects, Command I to import this. In our awesome folder, we have our images we made, and I'm just going to make sure this is set to a PNG sequence and say open. Drag this into a new composition, and now I'm going to create a new background, so Command Y, and I'm just going to set it to black because it doesn't matter, and drag this beneath my hipster calligraphy. Go into my set effects and presets and just grab a fill and put my fill on my background, and then let's make this a nice kind of yellowy. Actually, let's make this purple. We'll make this kind of, yeah, like that kind of purple. I'm just going to copy my fill and put it onto my hipster calligraphy layer and just switch that color to maybe like green. Perfect. So now we have this green layer, and what we can do is just do Command, actually what we have to do is do Command K to bring up your project settings, and your frame rate is defaulted to 30, and since we did 12 frames for animation in Photoshop, let's switch this to 24. So every 2 frames is, it's gonna just smooth it out basically. So we'll just double that to 24 and say okay, and then what we're gonna do is duplicate our hipster calligraphy layer and pick a different color. So this one I'll probably pick a red color, which might look cool. Maybe make it a little bit darker. There we go. And now what we can do is just do Alt page down, and that's going to move our layer over 1 frame. So I'm going to move this actually over 2 frames. And so now when I play it, it's going to look like it has a paint splash, like a 2 layers with it. So that's pretty awesome. And if I want to, I can even add 1 more layer. So shift page down maybe just twice, 1 more time, and pick some other color. In my case, I will pick a like orange, I guess, might be cool. So I'll do an orange layer, and now we have just this, I think, a totally awesome effect, hipster calligraphy, that we made. And obviously mine is kind of crappy looking, but I tried to make something quick and awesome. So I think this looks pretty incredible for the time we put into it. And I mean, you can drag these layers around and make them slower and more delayed if you like that effect. There's so much you can do with this effect. So I hope you guys had fun. As always, this was Matt from MoGraph. Leave me a like, drop me a comment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll keep the cool videos coming. You guys are awesome, and yeah, get your learn on. Peace out.